Okay.
Perfect. Hey, good morning, Dr. Kosha. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. I'm doing well. Let's jump right into it. Can you tell me exactly why you started the Her Soul Retreat?
Because I felt it was important for women to finally focus on healing from trauma. Mm. This whole thing started with me creating a healing journal and affirmation cards for myself after the loss of my dad, just to kind of help me with that process. And then I wanted to be able to share that with other women. But I do understand that sometimes when we go through trauma, and bonds that prevent us from, advancing in our lives, that's something that we really need to deal with. So that's why I kind of started the Her Soul movement.
I love it. Could you maybe give us some examples of, I guess, bad ways people deal with trauma?
I always tell people a lot of times we heal unhealthy, and that's because we just don't have a handbook on how to heal. I think some of the bad ways may be to not deal with it. And that's with anything, especially within therapy when we deal with trauma. Our first mode is to just be like, okay, hey, push it under the rug. I don't want to deal with it because they don't want to be faced with like the pain that comes with that. And that sometimes can push us back and put us in an even worse space. So I feel like that's one of the things that is really important that we automatically do.
As a licensed counselor and mental health entrepreneur, how do you integrate your professional expertise into the retreat experience?
So for my retreat, I wanted to be able to bring the spiritual aspect as well as the clinical aspect because I feel like when you're going through that healing journey, you need both. So most of the people that I have, we do attack it from a spiritual aspect. Clinically, I always like to talk about healing, model sometimes what each individual healing process looks like, because you never know what other person in the room may be dealing with some of the same things that you are. They may be having certain coping mechanisms that work for them that you may can try, but also having accountability partners. And that's one of the things that I really focus on in therapy because you have to have the right people around you to help you through a journey as such.
Do you feel like even if you haven't experienced the trauma, that everybody needs to do therapy?
I would say not basically everybody. Trauma is one aspect of therapy, right? A person can get therapy just to kind of maneuver in life, kind of like life coaching, getting guidance and things like that. It may not have experienced trauma. A lot of times we've experienced trauma, but don't identify it as trauma as well. Because sometimes when people think of trauma, they're like, oh, okay, were you in the military? No, trauma is more than just that. And sometimes we don't attach that word to certain things that we deal with. And I feel like most of the trauma is a lot of childhood things that we carry in our adult lives. So I think therapy is something that's good for everybody just to be able to, move through life.
Absolutely. So the upcoming Her Soul Retreat is scheduled for April 25th to the 27th in Orlando.
Yes.
What can attendees expect from this event?
So this is kind of different. This is our first year actually doing the retreat. The last couple of times we did the Her Soul movement. It was an actual, I don't like to say conference because I named it Her Soul, the experience for a reason. I wanted women to come and really get an experience. But what I've noticed that even though they're coming to these events, I feel like it's not enough. We give them tools, right? We start them on their journey. But when we do it, with me wanting to do the retreat is for them to really get into doing work. We're going to actually be doing healing exercises. It's not as big as the Her Soul experience. Event. It's like 15 ladies. We have a home. They're going to be pampered. They're going to have caterers. We're going to
Right.
have sessions that really get them to dive deep into trauma and healing. We're going to have beach exercises. Like it's really going to be rest, relaxation, and release for them for that whole weekend.
You mentioned the importance of healing and self-care and achieving freedom. Could you maybe elaborate that a little bit and how you're going to plan to address that during the retreat?
I feel like a lot of things that we go through, it holds us captive.
Absolutely.
Um, and most of the time, because when we don't deal with things, they come out in negative ways. Sometimes you may be wondering why a person is so angry, to certain people. And a lot of times when we hurt, the people that are closest to us get the effects of that. And we don't tie it in together, right? And so I always tell people that a lot of times you're not going to get the apology that you're looking for. You're not going to get the understanding that you're looking for. And your healing is not for the other person, it's for you to be able to move forward, not forget, right? Because a lot of times we're not going to forget that. We're going to be dealing with trauma and the triggers of that, but to be able to cope and move through life. And I feel like that is what will set a person free from being captive of the things that happen to them.
Your personal experiences have shaped your approach to mental health care and entrepreneurship. How can these experiences influence the development of a safe place counseling consulting LLC?
I come from a family of mental health on my mom's side. So I felt like this was a passion for me very early on. Um, but it's what I experience. And not only that, I tell people a lot of times, even being a therapist, I'm human, I go through life as well. So I experience everything that everyone else does. And though I don't do things right all the time, I like to take the things that I've learned in my experience and share with others in hopes that that's something that they can take on. But I created safe space. It's the same thing with her soul. I want people to have that safe place. A lot of people are afraid to address things because they're afraid to be judged. They don't know who they can talk to. So that safe space gives them the opportunity to be vulnerable and talk and deal with those things without having those issues.
What about people that I guess maybe they're not sure what to do, or they're not satisfied where they are in life, and that I don't want to say does that make you depressed? I don't know, but I guess what kind of advice would you have for those people that they just kind of feel stuck in a rut, don't know where to go?
In those instances, I always ask a lot of questions, right? I'm the type of therapist, and I feel like that's with any therapy. When we are dealing with symptoms, like I feel like not feeling like they know where to go is a symptom of something, and we
Mm,
have to determine where that's coming from. And addressing what that core is. Why do you feel like you're not moving? What in your life it's not working? A lot of times it's mindset, right? A lot of times it's fear. People know where they need to be, but they're afraid to get there for some specific reason. So for anyone that's feeling like that, I would state to get some type of therapy, life coaching, just to help them to navigate through that. And my favorite thing that I always tell people is you can't control what you can't change. So we have to focus on the things that we can change and move forward with that and focus on the things that we can't.
great answer. Beyond the retreat, you offer mentorship programs for aspiring mental health entrepreneurs.
Yes.
What do they entail, and what motivated you to start these programs?
Um, I have been very successful in my mental health outpatient behavior health clinics. I am all about bridging the gap, providing services to those in need. My outpatient counseling services, we bring the therapy to them in the community. And I started to get a lot of calls from people that I've worked with stating that, hey, I would like to open up. I want to follow you, do things right, get under your brand. And so I'm like, okay, hey, let me kind of start doing some mentorship. I spoke at a health entrepreneurship conference and offered a mentorship in conjunction with that, which kind of made me kind of start the mentorship. Um, but I'm a firm believer that not just my agency can do it. So I like to be able to mentor people to offer this service so we can work together to handle the mental health stigma.
Um, Looking ahead, what are your goals for the future of the Her Soul Retreat Tour and your other initiatives aimed at empowering women?
I would like to bring her soul to more and more states, um, and to grow it, right? I feel like as women realize and notice what this is, they'll be more inclined to be there. Like when you talk about healing and trauma, that's scary for some people, right? Um, so they kind of have to filter it out a little bit. So I just want to grow this thing into something big and to continue doing it so women can look forward to having that outlet on a yearly basis.
It is Women's History Month. I guess who inspired you to get into this field, and make this turn your passion into a career?
When I was maybe 18, I started working for child protection. That job showed me a lot. Um, it showed me that this was a passion because anybody just getting into the job doing it is like it's not for everybody, right? Um, and so I felt like that this is what God had called me to do. And so as I'm working in the field, there were two young ladies, Kim and Monica, that I worked for. And I kind of got under their wing. I saw what they were doing, and they just really inspired me to go forward with this. Like I was comfortable working for agencies, right? And really afraid to step out on my own to do it because I didn't think I could. I didn't trust myself to do that. So that's the importance of having the right people in your corner who are going to push you and motivate you and empower you to do that. And still after all these years, they're really great friends of mine. We work together on a lot of things, right? And so I just appreciate them for being mentors for me in the field. And pushing me to be great, because I mean, I feel like I was a person who was kind of stuck at one point too. And that was because of self-esteem and not feeling like that I was good enough to be who I am today.
Love it. I love it. And I guess my last question for you would be, what are two or maybe three things people should do every day that will actually help and improve their mental health?
I feel like they should affirm themselves, like every morning. Like when you get up, you just never know how you're going to feel when you get up, right? It's not all the time that we get up in a good mood. And I think it's general practice to just get up and say your affirmations, speak life over yourself every day before you leave the home. Because anything can happen. And a lot of times people wait on others to affirm them, right? They rely on others to validate them. And I don't think that that's a good thing. So I would say, yes, practicing those affirmations, speaking life into yourself. That's really important to where you start in the morning, even if it's including like meditation or journaling. All of those things are really good to do in the mornings.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph, for taking your
Thank
seat at the
you.
table and talking some mental health with us, and also letting us know about the Her Soul retreat, man. I can't wait
Yes.
to hear about it in April, hear
Thank
how it
you.
turns out, and I'm looking forward to hearing about the one in Chicago later this year too.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. You have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye.